What's going on, everyone? This is Zen here from Zen Multiverse, and I hope you're having a great day. So, I was finally able to see Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness, and I'm here to do a light spoiler review. So, first, let's get into the storyline. So, the storyline is there are two main elements that are woven into each other, and the first comes in the form of America Chavez, who is a character who could traverse the multiverse, opening a star-shaped portal, but has a hard time utilizing this ability at the beginning and midpoints of the movie. Second comes in the form of Wanda Maximoff, who is the Scarlet Witch. Now, how did the two um, plot characters, right, or plot elements weave into each other? Well, because America Chavez can traverse the multiverse, Wanda wants this ability. Why does she want this ability? Because she wants to um, go be with her kids. Now, you might be wondering, kids? I didn't know that Wanda had kids. Well, if you watched WandaVision on Disney Plus, you would know that she constructed two two kids, two amazing kids, right, who have abilities as well, in a town called Westview. Now, because now I made a whole bunch of videos on this, but because she was going through a mental stress and she was in a mental chaos because Vision had died. She constructed this perfect reality, right, within this town. But the spell and her abilities encompass the whole entire time, warping reality on a micro level, right, to everyone who is in the town. And it ended up creating these kind of this reality where days and months felt like a sitcom, right, for her. But she also created these two kids named Billy and Tommy. Now, towards the end of the show, she ended up having to relieve the spell, but that also meant she had to give up Billy and Tommy, right? Now, there was a character in that named Agatha, and the Agatha introduced her to the Darkhold itself. Now, towards the end of the show, again, Agatha was kind of like warped, right, into being a constant member and in a constant loop of a personality in Westview itself, but the Darkhold remained, and Wanda used the Darkhold. Now, why is that such a big thing? Because the Darkhold will start to um, corrupt the user over time. And what did it do? It actually allowed her to hear Billy and Tommy throughout the multiverse. Now, Wanda wants uh, America Chavez. Why? Because she wants to be able to use her abilities in order to get to a world or a reality or a universe where her kids still exist and she can be with them. Yeah, so that's what it really is. But there's a huge horror element to it because there's a big chase, right? The chase is basically Wanda trying to get America Chavez, and Doctor Strange is trying to save America Chavez and stop Wanda from doing this. Because if Wanda gets America Chavez, what will happen? She'll die if she siphons her ability. But Wanda doesn't care, and she'll do anything and everything in order to get America Chavez, and she ends up killing quite a bit of people, right? For lack of better words. Overall, it's a really great movie. And now I'm going to get into the special effects and also the music. Special effects were just pretty much just amazing for where they are at this given time of 2022. There are a lot of people who had some gripes about it. I personally didn't have gripes. I love when they were able to go and smash through the various versions of the multiverse. And later on in the movie, we are introduced into a world where we see the Illuminati, right? Which is the big buzz that everyone is talking about, which is comprised of a couple of members that we do see uh, in the movie. Again, spoiler alert if if you want to hear it, right? And this comes in the form of a couple of characters. We have Baron Mordo, or alternate version of him. We have Mr. Fantastic. Yeah, Mr. Fantastic, and it is played by John Krasinski, which a lot of people have thought about being the perfect Mr. Fantastic, and Kevin Feige did it, right? And we also have Maria Rambeau, which plays Captain Marvel, and we also have Captain Carter, or Peggy Carter, which is basically an alternate version of Peggy Carter, who gets the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers. And she is the first Avenger, and she looks pretty amazing, and she's beautiful. The next we have Professor Charles Xavier as well. Yes, played by Patrick Stewart. He is in the movie, and looking pretty boss and amazing too. And we get a snippet of the X-Men '97 theme song that plays as well. Oh, there's one more character. We see Black Bolt from the Inhumans. So now let's go into the music, right? The music was just the it was just really good, right? I couldn't, it's not a Hans Zimmer, you know what I mean? But it was enough to fit the theme of the movie. And the theme, and this is where my review kind of tears some of my gripes, right? It was a horror-esque movie combined with a heroic type of movie, right? And I just wish, and this is just me, right? I wish it was either one or the other, right? Now, it was hard, right? I it wasn't bad. It just felt a little bit. There was a couple of scenes within the movie that I felt were not needed or a little bit forced, right? Sam Raimi directed a movie, and he is amazing, amazing. And I think part of my review, my final review, right, which comes in the form of a 7 out of 10, is because I have been so used to the formula of the Marvel movies that when it deviates a little bit too far, then I'm a little bit, I'm just wondering, right? I am going to watch this movie again because I do feel that my second time watching the movie, my review will change, right? Now, again, it was a horror-esque movie where we saw a lot of chasing, right? A lot of chasing, kind of like when you watch a, um, a horror movie where there are a whole bunch of teens who are run away from, like Jason Voorhees or something like that. There were a lot of scenes, even scenes that look pretty much like The Ring, right? Where we see Wanda climbing out of the mirror dimension, and it looked really amazing. But again, I had some gripes, and the gripes were just I wish it would have just been like a horror movie and that's it, right? But it is what it is. That's not really where the height of my um I guess the cons for the movie. One of the main cons is that I felt like Doctor Strange was totally depowered in this movie. When we compare and contrast prior movies like Infinity War and Endgame and things of that nature, even the first Doctor Strange movie, his power, well, his manipulation over magic seemed a little bit more adept in those previous movies in comparison to this movie. It is what it is. They were going against Wanda Maximoff, who is a reality warper, so I understand if maybe some of the spells he didn't feel were necessary. I guess in the past movies, the feats the feats that were used with those spells, I guess I felt like he could have used them, right? Even when he went against Thanos, he did a couple of spells that I felt he could have used this time around. But it is what it is. Um, Other gripes with the movie, I felt like it was a little bit too fast paced. There wasn't enough time for me to see chemistry between the characters. Uh, I saw the chemistry, but I felt like the chemistry could have been a little bit. It could have been strengthened a whole lot more throughout the entirety of the movie. And the movie had a really good length, but I wonder if the whole Illuminati part was really needed, right? Yes, it was pure hype to see those characters, but I could remove the Illuminati portion of the movie and we still have a movie with the same plot points. You know what I mean? They didn't have to go to that reality. Um, they could have done it in a lot of different ways. Where they could have focused more on America Chavez, her interaction with Wong, and also Doctor Strange. Yeah, I mean, was it bad? No, it was great. I just felt like there were some scenes and elements within the movie that weren't needed, that they were pure fan service. And while they were fan service, I don't think that it really developed the movie too much. And one of the main reasons why I'm saying this is because we only saw the Illuminati for about how long? Man, it had to be about just about 7 minutes within the whole entirety of the movie, right? Um, and the fight between Wanda and the Illuminati took about 3 minutes at max, right? And for some of those characters, they were literally deceased within 10 seconds of the interaction between Wanda and also those characters, right? I'm looking at Black Bolt and I'm also looking at Mr. Fantastic. It was like, wow, you guys could have really built up for those characters at a later time, but I guess they just wanted to introduce variant versions of those characters because I do have a feeling we will see the main versions of those in a movie later on, right? Now, that's the main reasons, I guess, for my 7 out of 10. There were some moments that I hate to use words like this, that were pretty cringe as well, right? Um, Certain fights, I think there was a musical battle kind of going on. Um, and I felt like, oh, what? It was cool in some type of way, but they were utilizing musical instruments in order to cast spells. It felt a little bit off to me, and I felt like they were going for something that was quite that was beautiful, but also at the same time, it felt unnecessary. Um, the same goes for some of the horror scenes. The horror scenes, I felt like when Wanda was coming out of the mirror realm, while it was cool, it also was like you're trying to make this a horror movie, but it felt like there were too many horror elements that were borrowed from other movies. That's what it was. I felt like they were borrowing from too many movies that we've all have already seen, and it didn't feel as organic as I would have loved to. When she was contorting her body, I was like, ah man, I never seen her contort her body before. So her contorting her body just made it look feel weird. I don't know. I'm probably being a little bit too critical. Um, by all means, it was not a bad movie at all. It was a good one. Now, some of my comic gripes, there's only one main big comic book gripe here. And I believe it was Baron Mordo who said that your universe, right, which is the Doctor Strange that comes from the MCU, right, the normal continuity that we know and love, he said that your Earth is the 616 universe. Now, that made it really confusing, right, as a comic book lover, and here's why. The comic books that we read, right, the normal continuity, is the 616 itself. So for them to say the MCU is the 616 assumes that they're one and the same, which they're not. Unless they have the numerical designation wrong, that makes it highly confusing. Now, multiverse theory would suggest in this case that the comic books are a separate universe themselves, which would be 616, and then anything outside of that would be the other designations, right? um or if there's a temporal designation, for example, Maureen McTaggart, right, she's in the 616, but because of her abilities of reincarnation, she's in a temporal she has a temporal designation, which is like TRN something 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 something, and the ultimate universe has something 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 something. I thought that the MCU was labeled as uh, a designation that had like a lot of repeating numbers, right? Like 9999999 or something like that, right? So for him to say that, it made it highly confusing because that 616 is not the same thing as the 616 from the comic book. So I hope they fix that later on. Because it's not the 616. I was very surprised to hear them say that Doctor Strange from the movie was from the 616 universe. Now, I do know that a lot of the comic books that are currently coming out right now are basing a lot of their stories on what we see in the movies, but we're still not there yet in its entirety. So, anyway, again, my final thoughts. Go out and see the movie for yourself. Definitely going to give it a 7 out of 10. I do want to see the movie one more time. I do want to see a director's cut or extended version, because I think I just felt like there were things missing from the movie, and that's why I felt like there were moments that were a little bit too fast paced, and some moments that were cringe, and interactions that could have gone on a little bit longer, but they weren't because I felt like there were missing elements. I could be totally wrong, but again, the movie was definitely a 7 out of 10. It was a good watch. Now I know I saw towards the end of this review, right? I said a lot of things that could be seen as heavy criticism and just things that just sound like you just don't like that, Zen. Yeah, that's what it is, right? It's my review. Um, See it for yourself. And yeah, I do feel like all of the characters, the actors, right, were great. I love seeing Wong as the Sorcerer Supreme, and just him in general. I thought his, I felt like me seeing him in Shang-Chi for a little snippet, and then me seeing him here, it's nice to see Wong so many times, right? In a lot of different movies. I would love to see him in his own movie. There's a post-credit scene. There are two post-credit scenes. So yeah. With that being said, everyone, it's a 7 out of 10. Good movie. Go out and see it for yourself. This is Zen from Zen Multiverse, saying peace, love, and prosperity. If you're enjoying the content, drop me a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you all later for the next one. Later.